Today, I want to show you about my latest adventures with Claude Code, and I want to talk about how I've been using Claude Code agents and slash commands to manage detection rules for our Cloud SIEM. Cloud SIEM is a security tool that you use to do detections and threat hunting in your logs. And the foundation of Cloud SIEM is detection rules. And I have been using Claude Code to write and manage custom detection rules for the last couple of weeks, and I've got it tuned pretty well. So I want to show you all what I have been up to. So this is a list of detection rules. We have hundreds of out-of-the-box detection rules in here that we use to detect on threats. But a lot of times you need to customize a detection rule just to make it like a little bit different for your use case. So for example, you can see this unfamiliar IAM user retrieved secrets from AWS Secret Manager custom. That's a custom rule that Claude created for me. And here's the details about that rule. Like unfamiliar IAM user retrieved secret from AWS Secrets Manager. The way that a rule like this typically works is it's very smart. So Cloud SIEM learns like the normal patterns in your AWS environment, for example, and then it learns over 7 days, like what users do we expect to be retrieving this secret, for example, or like what users do we what users do we expect to be making these API calls. And that's really good in a real environment because it makes your detections a lot less noisy. But for me, I work in ephemeral environments all the time where I need Cloud SIEM to, instead of learning after 7 days, I need Cloud SIEM, in this example, the rule to be customized to have Cloud SIEM detect on every new identity. So that's the lore of how I got here. I'm doing this like all the time in my job, like creating these custom Cloud SIEM rules for special use cases. And it occurred to me that this is definitely something Claude could do for me. So I'm going to show you how I set it up. It's I set up like this end-to-end workflow where what I do is I give Claude a prompt. Like, so for example, here's some of my prompts I've been using. So this is that same rule, AWS Secrets Manager. So I give Claude a prompt like customize detection rule. I give it the rule ID from Datadog, and then I just tell it what I want the rule to do differently. So detect on all new values instead of learning over 7 days. And then I tell it I want you to deploy, which means create the rule for me, and then I want you to test the rule for me. And from there, I have like this whole orchestrated workflow that Claude can do for me using a bunch of specialized agents. So that's the preview. But any thoughts on that, Jason? Before I can show you like a couple of examples of what Claude really has done.
Yeah, no, this is fascinating. I love it when I come across a new use case for using Claude Code and some of the sub agents and the things that we've been exploring here recently. So yeah, this is great.
Okay. All right, cool. So you want to see it?
Yeah.
Let's see it in action. So end to end, it takes about 10 minutes. So I'm not gonna run it live for you, even though that would be very fun. But I'll show you. So actually, that's that example prompt we were just looking at. And here is what happened when Claude did this for me. So I have it all set up in the environment. First thing Claude does is can invoke this detection rule writer. And this detection rule writer is a specialized subagent. What it knows how to do and what it's really good at is writing the logic or writing the queries for detection rules. So it can handle customizing a rule, which is what we did in this use case, or it can handle just like creating a net new rule from our natural language query. It writes the new rule for us. And then the really cool part is, so you can see like here was the modification instructions. Here it's following its instructions what to do. It figures out what the rule should look like. This is the raw JSON for the updated rule. And then the really cool part is it actually creates an entire Terraform module for me to be able to deploy and manage the rule just right from here. So I'm not even going to do any ClickOps in Datadog or anything. This agent is going to write all the infrastructure as code assets that I need to create the new rule. And then it tells me rule customization complete, and it tells me, okay, here's where your new rule is at. And then from there, there's like a 2-step process that the slash command continues organizing. So it calls this detection rule validator. And what this subagent does is it checks all of our work. So it checks like not only the query syntax for the new detection rule we created, but it also checks our Terraform syntax. It runs some different commands like Terraform validate, you can see here, and it gives us a pass, warn, fail. It warns us if there's like any small issues that might be a problem, or it passes it along for testing, or it will fail and then the agent like alerts me and says you did a bad job, so redo this. Yeah, so that's parts 1 and 2. You can see like the orchestration of the agents is really cool, and then there's a grand finale that I'll show you in a minute. But any like thoughts or questions about what we've seen so far?
Well, I don't do a lot of stuff with Terraform. Are you finding that it is pretty good with that syntactually? Is that the right word? But does it know the right syntax for Terraform, and you seen success
Yeah.
there? Yeah.
Okay, that's a
Okay.
great question. That's a great question. I could actually talk about this topic like all day. So it used to be that LLMs were not that good at infrastructure as code yet. So Terraform, or like another tool I use a lot, is AWS CDK. It used to be LLMs hadn't got that down, but some of these newer models, like this Sonnet 4.5, are quite good at it. So out of the box, it writes Terraform pretty well. You can even see here. Oh, and the other thing that it does is I point it to the Datadog docs. So we have the Datadog docs that describe the public API, and then we also have docs for the Datadog Terraform provider, and it has used all that to write some of this. So actually, let's take a look. So it's putting it right here into, it knows the structure of my project. So it's putting the Terraform right here where I'm already deploying Terraform from. And you can see here, so this is the resource for the detection rule. Here's the new query it created. It's all right there. And I've done this probably like maybe like 50 times now. And yeah, I would say like 45 out of 50 times it's worked on the first try. So that's pretty good. Okay, but let's go back here. And actually, this goes along with your question quite nicely because it's like more Terraform magic. So when I run that command with the test flag, which I did in this case, I also have a detection rule tester agent. And what this agent knows how to do is to take the new rule, make sure it's been deployed in Datadog and it's ready to detect on signals. And then it actually creates like an entire test module in AWS for me that we can use to emulate like whatever attack we're trying to detect on and make sure it really fires. So in this case, what the detection rule tester did, I'm very obsessed with this. It saved me a lot of time. What the tester agent did is it created this test module for me, which is a Terraform module that creates an example secret. And so you remember the rule was about anomalies and the users accessing the secret. So it creates this test secret for me in AWS, and then it writes this script for me that we can use to emulate the actions that we would want Cloud SIEM to detect. And then it runs it all. It fires it all off. And let's see. It fires it all off, and then it waits. It pulls the Datadog API, and you can see here it ran for almost 10 minutes. It pulls the Datadog API, and it waits for the signal to actually fire. And if the signal is generated, which it was here, it even gives me a link to the signal in Datadog, although the syntax is a little broken, so I need to fix that. But in theory, it's very cool. And then it tells me status pass. We created the test, we ran the test, and we saw the signal in Datadog. So end to end, like you can do part of that work. You can do part of that workflow by running the command with different flags, or you can do the whole workflow from literally just my natural language query of like, just customize this rule for me in this way, to now not only is it in Datadog, but we know for sure it's working because we've tested it and everything.
Okay, great. That sounds super useful. One of my experiences with kind of stumbling upon things like this is that it unlocks something for me. Like there's like a new thing that I can now go do, and my squirrel brain wants to go explore that. Did that happen to you here? Is this like something? Did this like unlock a new level for you?
Oh God, we won't even talk about that. So yeah, it all started because I was working on this project for an activity we're doing for an upcoming event that's called Datadog Detect. And like I mentioned earlier, this is a very common use case for me, customizing these detection rules for something specific to like an ephemeral environment versus like a typical long running AWS environment. And so I can't even tell you like hours spent actually working on the project versus hours spent working on these Claude workflows is like can't be compared, because from there, like there's just so many things you can do. Like one other thing that I have started building out that I don't have perfected yet, but is this CloudTrail log analyzer subagent. And so now that Claude knows all this stuff about like interacting with the Datadog API, creating queries for Cloud SIEM, et cetera, what this agent does is it uses the Datadog API to pull your real logs from Datadog, like based on what you're looking for, and then helps you create a detection rule from the actual past log events. So that's something that you can do really easily in the Datadog UI, but now your agent can do that too using your real logs. And like on and on. Like there's another thing I'm working on where that would enable the agent not only to create like a new version of the detection rule for you, but to disable the old version of the detection rule for you, like all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I feel like this is just at the probably the beginning of the extent to which I'll nerd out with this.
Excellent. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is very exciting. Definitely unlocking some things and just removing toil is kind of my goal for a lot of stuff like this. Stuff I hate doing, just needs to get done, needs to be done right. So
Yeah, exactly. And oh, sorry, Cody, I was just gonna say, and it's also like it also unlocks the ability to focus really like more on the idea than the task, right? Like it's like I know in my head, here's how I want the rule to be different. And now I can skip all the part where I figure out how to make it different. Claude does that for me, and I can get on to the next idea faster, which is what's really valuable.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, thanks, Tara. Appreciate you sharing that with us, and we'll see you at the next one.
All right, thank you.
Bye.